What kind of trouble? Because a lot of people were mentioning kinds of things that may happen, so they said, what kind of trouble? So I asked this teacher what kind of trouble that she's seen from students. I may have mentioned this before here.
I want to just keep that door open.
Well,
I find that when they come in, they're used to doing a single lesson plan for a single topic. And they have eons of pages, procedure and organization and materials, and follow-up evaluation. And they do that for a while as they start slowly. But as they go on, they need to then plan for the whole day and the whole week. And they sometimes find it difficult to work with time considerations because they're so used to focusing on one small part. So it takes time for them to then develop ways of working with the week, ways of working with a whole day of lesson planning. So that's a transition for them.
do we teach you to do that, to like work with the week and the month and stuff like that? Is that part?
No.
Okay, well, this is a message that you ought to learn to do that this year, so that if you're in classes and ask teachers, you're in the field now, so ask people, how do they plan for the week? You know, how do they plan for the month? So start thinking about learning from them and then kind of picking up that, because when you get out there and you start student teaching, they're going to expect you to do that. And you don't want to, you want to be able to hit the ground running, as we would say in the military. Okay, so then I asked another teacher what she thought, and this is Tracy. And this is like 2001, so things may have changed. Maybe not.
Don't plan too many outside activities, because I think that being a teacher, I'm a third-year teacher, but when I see people who have student teachers, I think that one of the I don't want to say complaints, but the biggest problems is that they don't spend enough time doing things, and they're not as prepared as they need to be, because you have to remember that some of these cooperating teachers have been teaching for years, and they've been teaching the same subjects for years, so they're very knowledgeable about things. And you going in as a student teacher may not know so much about a theme or subject, and you need to do your background research so that, you know, when the kids ask you questions, you don't have to look over to the teacher and say, do you have an answer for that, kind of thing.
Yeah, don't ever acknowledge the teacher in the back of the room. Ignore them. And I don't know if how that works out for you now, but in general, the subjects that you're not good at, this is the time to do it. Anything that you don't know that you may be teaching, whatever it is, if you're afraid of it, whatever it is, this is the time to learn it, because you've got the rest of your time this semester and next semester, and look at the teachers in your schools and find out who's good at these things and get tips from them. Because, like as she says, you know, you're not going to say, well, is that right, to the teacher back there. So I thought that was pretty good advice. Then here's the best advice from one teacher. I think it's the same teacher there. Oh no, this is a student teacher. She just got back from student teaching that day. And I said, come here, let me tape you so that we know, like right fresh off the vine here.
Go in there as prepared as you can. Know your subject matter in and out. Try and plan some lessons ahead. Like if you can get the book from the teacher ahead of time, find out what chapters you're going to be doing, read the book ahead so that kind of thing is done ahead of time and you're not dealing with it when you're student teaching. Because there's so much to deal with when you're actually going through student teaching that any little bit that you could have done ahead of time will be a great help to you.
Yeah, she had a good experience. And here's, I think that first teacher too, she had some planning. I just picked some that I thought might be useful for you folks.
They need to spend almost 100% of their time to put in as much as they can to student teaching. It is not easy. It is not a 9-to-3 job. It is taking work home. It is preparing tons of materials. It is evaluating as you go along, evaluating at the end of the day, evaluating at the end of the week, reconfiguring reading groups. So I think, number one, don't plan a lot of outside activities and get your rest before you actually start student teaching. You'll be very tired, and that's very normal. Being a veteran teacher, it still happens. And you still get butterflies on the day before school starts, and you still get butterflies, and that's okay.
Stay 5 minutes later than everybody else. You know, make them see that you're interested in the school, and that'll go a long way. Anybody know Dr. Turner, Jesse Turner? Dr. Turner? You may have seen him walk around here. Sometimes he dresses up like Einstein and stuff. He's a good teacher. So somebody once told me this guy's a great teacher. So I said, Jesse, what makes a great teacher? Because if he's a great teacher, you should know what makes a great teacher, right? So, so what do you think? What do you think his answer was when I asked him what makes a great teacher? What do you think makes a great teacher? Not a good teacher, but a great teacher. Yeah.
I think you've got to be an actor or a frustrated actor. I think you've got to
Tell
have
me about it.
some degree of wanting to project yourself in a way and be the point of attention in the same way that an actor does with the role that they have. They're projecting themselves to an audience. You a little bit are doing the same thing. You're projecting yourself to an audience who may or may not be interested or invested in what you're trying to portray.
Good. What else? Good.
A caring ear, a caring shoulder.
Okay, so a
Like
great
you're-
teacher needs to be caring?
Yeah. You have to lend an ear and lend a shoulder.
Okay. Anything else? Frustrated actor? Yeah, what do you think?
Someone who comes fully prepared to teach, but at the same time is able to be flexible if things need to change in a lesson.
Okay, prepared and flexible at the same time. Like a Boy Scout. And this is something, that's why I say to myself, whenever I go into a school, I ask the principal, who are your best teachers and so on and so forth, because I think those are the people you want to use as models, not like the ordinary teacher that you see. So, okay, here's Jesse, and you'll recognize him maybe in the hall or something like that. Don't give him a hard time if you see him. Okay, so Jesse, what makes a great teacher?
And when I think about great teachers, I think those are the teachers that make a difference by not waiting for others to do for them. So I use the analogy of the half glass. Is it half full or is it half empty? Now, in the traditional ways of thinking about that, people say half empty. They understand that half full and they think this is great. But really, half empty just means you're a poor teacher, a lousy teacher. And half full just means you're the kind of teacher that will just work with what you get. You do the best you have with what you have. But a great teacher fills their own glass, one drop at a time. So when they're taking classes at Central, they're saying, how can this class help make me a better teacher, regardless of what the class is? How can asking another teacher about what they do help make me a better teacher? What can I learn from every single student in my class that will make me a better teacher, so that every moment is a moment where we can fill our own glasses? That's what makes a great teacher.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. What do you guys think? How about a couple of comments? What do you think? I mean, is that too way out for you? Or?
It's his opinion.
Sorry?
It's his opinion.
What do you think? What do you think of his opinion?
It's not what I would, think of when you think of a good teacher. I wouldn't think of a half empty or full glass. But
Well, he doesn't either. He says you got to fill your glass. That's the great
Right.
teacher. You've heard that, half full, half empty. Okay. Well, it's just something that, so these are some of the ones that I thought would be of good use to you folks. And so I stopped doing that after a while because I wasn't here, then I stopped. But while you're around, take some time and talk to your teachers about like the lesson planning and outstanding things that they've seen that you see. And it should help you.